crucial time in our history, recent history, he was the only outlet that we had that would get out information about what was going on in the city. He was an activist. He took no sides. He was strong in his position, and he will be missed.
You know, he was our news source, and that source is gone.
Why do you think every neighborhood or city should have a Gerald Strothers?
Well, because if you had a Gerald Strothers, not only, see one thing, it's good to have a person spokesman out front, but if you ain't got no people behind you to help you, you ain't going nowhere. Because most of the uneducated, unknowledgeable people, untutored, they go for anything. See?
I'm Nathaniel Martin, Councilman at Large, Councilman for 21 years, a good friend of Gerald Strothers. We worked together over the last 3 or 4 years on community issues. He was very strong and positive about change. He paid the price, but he hung in there. We'll miss him. He had a blog called 4411 News that he kept, and when we had no video and we had no way to get the information out to the public, Gerald Strothers got the information out through 4411news.com. He's in Pittsburgh now and he's getting ready to go to heaven, but we will miss his gift, his skills, his sacrifice. May God be with him and his family.
And I was there, and I remembered exactly that moment. And we were waiting. It was more like an hour, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
We were waiting for any announcement, any public announcement of the victory in the recall, the results of the recall. And then, like you said, one sentence was dedicated to the recall election, even though it was a historic event. There had never been a recall election in the city of East Cleveland. There had hardly been a single recall successful in the region at all. Not just recently, but period, in the history of the city, in the history of the region. But one sentence was all that warranted, according to Channel 3, Channel 5, Channel 8, and Channel 19. And that's the critical nature of local media.
The only thing I can say is Gerald Strothers is a good friend of mine. We had some differences, but he was very instrumental in the work of the city. Had he had any help from any of the people in this city, it'd be a hell of a lot better city right now.
We're going to miss that. We're going to have to have someone step up. Okay, he sacrificed his time, he sacrificed his money, he gave to the city. We worked together on a number of issues. He didn't take no side. He was an objective reporter.
And the magnitude of that loss is felt and will be felt by all of the citizens of East Cleveland.
He didn't make a lot of money. He
made no money doing that.
That's what I'm saying.
No compensation. In fact, not only did he not make any money from it, he had to expend money because to make sure he got enough views, he would pay to boost the exposure on social media. So he paid out of his own pocket to provide media to the people of East Cleveland.
He didn't have no support. That's the problem. He didn't have no support. You know, well, number one thing is lack of knowledge. See, if you can plant a good seed and you cultivate it, it will bear fruit. And it comes from you taking care of it. And it spreads out. You know, you can start little, everything starts small, even an individual, even all babies, when they're born. They're very small, but they grow. You understand? Your mind grows. You see? So if you don't grow, if you plant a seed and the seed stay down in the ground, what the heck good is it?
So how do we get the people to grow then? To watch? How do we get the people to grow to become more concerned?
Number one thing is if you start when they're very small. If you start with kids, see, most of us, all of us, just about is indoctrinated when we are small. We are product of what we came up and what we learned while we was coming up.
Terry Tolfrey, East Cleveland, Ohio. Briefly about Mr. Gerald Strothers. I didn't know him long, but he would ride his bicycle and do what he needed to do with his camera. As I said inside council, I would call him up and say, Mr. Strothers, such and such is on TV. He said, I know, that's my tape. I called one of the TV stations yesterday to let them know that he had passed. We're going to miss him. He was instrumental in dealing with the former mayor in the recall. He without his 44112news.com, I don't know where this city would be.
So people never fully appreciate a thing while it's still there. It's too close to it, you know. But once they have had a chance to reflect on the fact that they don't know what's going to happen, or what happened at the school board meeting, or what's happening in the city council meeting, or at other meetings that they can't attend because they're working people.
My stuff. The brother was cold when it came to information. And Mr. Strothers, we gonna miss you, brother.
Coming up. See, I was told, I was born and raised in Alabama, a little bitty boy. But one thing my mother told me was, I never will forget it. I had a stepdad, and he said, one time I got a whooping, and I didn't do it. And I told my mother, she said, now listen, I promise you one thing. And she kept it to her die. She died at 106 this year. If you tell me the truth, regardless of what you do, I'll never whoop you again. And she didn't, because I told the truth. You understand? So that's what you plant in an individual's head. Tell it like it is.
All right.
Because if you tell the truth, it's no studying backwards and forwards and you forgot what you said yesterday. If you tell the truth, baby, you don't forget.
So the news should be tell the truth, get them at a young age, teach them to tell the truth.
You got to start at a young age.
Okay.
So I would like to give my condolences to the family of Gerald Strothers. Gerald Strothers was a very valued member of the East Cleveland community. He was an essential member of the team that led the recall of Gary Norton. Every single day he was in the office making sure that the phone was answered, making sure that the flyers got out and never ran out, making sure that we had the names of everyone who we had to send a piece of mail correspondence to. So he was vital. He was vital in making sure that the citizens of East Cleveland were informed about what was going on in their government. And when I came to the council meeting today and saw that the public was not to be allowed to speak prior to the meeting, I know that this is something that he would have been livid about. This would be item number 1 on 44112 News tonight. And so he is missed. The question of filling his void is still open, especially now if I'm elected mayor of the city of East Cleveland, that void will be filled. We will make sure from the office of mayor that the public access television channel and a YouTube channel corresponding to the things that are covered in the city will fill some of that void. But I don't know if anyone can ever fill the void with respect to the level of zeal that he had, to the willingness of him not just to cover what was going on, but to go and engage in investigative journalism in the city of East Cleveland. And that's a huge thing. The Noble Road dump issue was primarily exposed to the public as a consequence of his own tireless efforts. And I do believe that his exposure to that dump played a role in the deterioration of his health, because I know from my own experience going by that dump, whether it be during protest action or canvassing, any time when the wind
20
was
minutes
blowing,
over there, you get
absolutely,
a headache.
any time that I was over there for more than 20, especially if the wind was blowing, I would begin to feel lightheaded. I would begin to feel nauseous. This is environmental racism. Gerald Strothers was one of those people who was not afraid to call out the fact that this was environmental racism and to call out the administration for failing to protect the lives and the safety of the people of East Cleveland. And so Gerald Strothers will be missed. God bless him and his family. Other people said we didn't always agree eye to eye. I was sometimes the target of of some of his investigative journalism. But it was okay. He would always, the thing about Gerald is he was fair. He would always give you a chance to respond. Even if he made the allegation, he would give you a chance to address it. And so, yes, he was.
Do you think he was appreciated while he was here? Now that there's a void, do you think people will look back and be like, wow, damn?
I don't think he was properly appreciated. He will be more appreciated, certainly, now that there is such a void. But I am thankful that he was able, before he did pass, to one, see the recall of the mayor that he had hoped for years to see run out of office, and also to see the shutdown of the dump that he had for years fought to see shut down. So at least he went out on a victory. You know, none of us can choose the time that we leave, but if you gotta leave sometime, leave after a victory, leave after a win. And he